Hello and welcome to my studio, or welcome to my studio office. My painting studio is just on the other side there, and I'm so happy to have you here today. Something really exciting happened for me during the week. My little tiny YouTube channel reached 500 subscribers, which sounds like really a little pinprick in the ocean of YouTube. But for those of you that have maybe watched a couple of videos before, last year I had some major health scares that kept me not only off of YouTube but out of my studio and made me have to pause creating and most of my art practice for a couple of months. And so what happens, like any social media channel, is that once you start sharing again, you kind of get penalized. Your posts don't get shown to that many people. So I felt a little bit disheartened when I started YouTube again, because all of a sudden nobody was seeing anything that I shared. So the fact that I managed to reach 500 subscribers, and if you are one of them, I am so grateful to you. Thank you for sticking around, and thank you for waiting for me to come back on here to start sharing again. I am abundantly grateful. So if you're new here, I hope that you stick around. I hope you say hi in the comments below. I'd love to get to know you, and yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate you spending time here. If you're new here, I am a qualified art teacher. I gave up full-time classroom teaching quite a while ago, about 20 years ago now, to pursue my own creative practice, my own painting studio. But of course, once a teacher, always a teacher, and I've continued to teach and share my passion for creating over the years. And this I see as just another way to help others and inspire others, and hopefully give you a little nudge into leading a more creative life. So if you're new here, I hope you'll stick around. I hope you'll hit that subscribe button, and that I'll get to know you over time as we share in creativity together. So one of the things that I do love to share is materials that I love to use, or any new materials. And I realize that very often I'm sharing things that maybe you know a lot about or that you have used before. So if you have, please share in the comments below your wisdom and your knowledge. And I don't know it all, but I'm so happy to share what I do know and my experiences. So this week, I want to share with you some materials that I have been wanting to try out for a really long time. I've seen a couple of artists using them, and I've been so intrigued as to what they are like. This week, I want to share with you the Daniel Smith watercolor sticks that arrived in my studio. As a matter of fact, where are they? I can't quite reach them, but I'll share a picture with you right now of what they look like. I was only going to buy one of them to try, but of course I was tempted by all those gorgeous colors and ended up choosing a couple that I thought I would give a tester to. Now, the thing that intrigued me with these is that they kind of look a bit like a pastel, and I was intrigued as to find out, are they like a bit of a pastel? Do they feel like a water-soluble wax crayon? I was really intrigued as to what they feel like and how they went down on the paper. So let me share my experiences with you today. If you have used Daniel Smith watercolor sticks before, do let me know in the comments. And if you've got a new way of using them or some beautiful colors that you absolutely love, do let me know. Anyway, let me share my experiences with you. And do you think I'll be buying some more? I've been waiting quite a while for this package to arrive in the studio. I bought these from Brush and Canvas here in South Africa, and of course what I do with most of the art supplies that I am wanting to try out for the first time is I wait until I see them go on sale online and purchase a few on sale. That way, if I don't really like the art supply that I purchase, I don't have to feel too guilty about it. But these were on sale, and they are quite an expensive item, so I was a little bit nervous purchasing them in, and of course I was going to just buy one color, but got pulled in by all the delicious colors, and so decided to splurge and buy a couple of colors that I knew I would use for my abstract florals, as well as a few landscape type colors that I knew I would use if I was going away or taking a little sketchbook on a trip with me. There were 1 or 2 items packed in there that are not obviously Daniel Smith. There were also a few things that were on sale, but most of my purchase was the little Daniel Smith watercolor sticks that I have been desperate to try for ages. Now, as I said, I was just going to buy one, but I decided to get a couple of colors that I could use not only for abstract florals, and the thought of that delicious pink that you can see there, I thought that would be a beautiful color to use as a pop of color for you know, some florals. I also got in some other colors, a blue and an ochre sort of color, and then I also got some lovely greens that I definitely know I will use when I am out traveling, as well as using for the abstract florals that I play around in my sketchbook with. So I thought I had chosen quite a good selection of colors. Daniel Smith is an art supply manufacturer and retailer that was started initially by Dan Smith, a noted printmaking artist. He founded it in 1976 when he endeavored to produce an artist-grade printmaking ink. The brand has then gone on to make watercolors, oil paints, and a variety of gorgeous art materials that they now supply all over the world. So such a renowned brand. I have been dying to give some of these a try. I couldn't wait to pull out my sketchbook and give them a try. They reminded me so much of an oil pastel, and yet they felt completely different. Of course they would. They felt very much to the touch when they are dry, like a little dried half pan that you would have in one of your watercolor trays. Slightly tacky, but actually dry to the touch. Now, I had recorded an entire session showing you here my first response of what I thought of them, but when I came to edit the video, I suddenly realized that that entire section hadn't recorded because my battery had died while I was filming. So here we go again. Let me tell you what I think of them. As I said to you, they feel a bit like a dried pan of watercolor, and when you draw on with them, they don't feel anything like an oil pastel or even a crayon. They have a slight sort of give to them that I can't quite find the right words for. It feels like a mixture between a crayon, but honestly, when you go over them with some water, they are delightful. They still leave, if you've drawn on with them dry and go over them with water, they do leave the mark. But the real joy is drawing with them into a wet surface. Oh my goodness, that is when I think I fell in love with them. When the surface is wet and you pick them up and draw into that wet surface, they just glide beautifully like a creamy. As a matter of fact, then they feel a bit like an oil pastel. They are creamy and just slide over that surface. As I said, when they dry, they feel slightly different. And the beauty is that when they dry and you draw with them and then go over, they do leave that beautiful mark, as you can see in the line there. But the diversity is that you can then pick up the colors and draw into the wet surface. Another way that you can use them is to simply take your pen or your sorry, I'm using a water pen here, and add a little bit of water onto the surface and use it a bit like a pan of watercolor and actually paint into the surface with it. So that way, if you had a few extra colors, it would be a lovely way to work with it. Another way is to start off with some watercolor. I've just got a separate pink color here that I'm using, and then take them and work into the already wet surface. They honestly are just so delicious and creamy, and they go over the other watercolors beautifully. And then of course you can work into them. What I'm most excited about is that you can build up some beautiful textures. So let me go right back to showing you the different colors that I purchased in, just in case you're interested and perhaps you want to look at getting some of these colors yourself. This is the Idanthron Blue. Honestly, I'm butchering that name. I'm definitely not saying it properly. Idanthron Blue. And this is the initial color that I was only going to get. I was just going to get the one blue color because I thought it was absolutely beautiful and would be a color that I could work for, you know, a monochromatic drawing. I thought it would be really interesting to be able to, you know, just use one in my sketchbooks. But of course, as I said, I was drawn in by all the other colors that I saw. This is a Quinacridone Gold, and although it looks quite brown, initially I thought it was actually a burnt sienna color that I had got. I thought I'd got the colors confused, but when you wet it, it is so golden and beautiful. It's showing up almost as a green on the camera, but in actual fact it is a beautiful rich golden color. It actually almost reminds me a little bit of a yellow, a golden, sort of a golden yellow. It's like a mixture between a beautiful rich ochre and a golden yellow. So I was really happy with that color. The next color that I want to show you was the Undersea green. Now the Undersea green is a beautiful, deep, rich, almost a dirty blue green, and I thought it will be absolutely gorgeous for the shadows in foliage as well as sort of in trees or anything like that. It's called Undersea green, and in actual fact Daniel Smith makes this Undersea green in the watercolor tubes as well as in a variety of other materials that they produce, and I actually have the Undersea green in tube form as well because I love the color so much. So I definitely was going to try that in stick form. The next one is olive green. Always a keeper in my palette. I love the dirty olive green color. I'm not one for grassy greens. I really do prefer the dirtier greens, so an olive green was a no-brainer for me. And then of course I looked to get something that could be used as a beautiful highlight or like a pop of color. So the next color was a rich green gold. I love a green gold. If any of you know the make Art Spectrum, that's an Australian brand, they make a gorgeous green gold, and I think that Australian colors are very similar to South African colors, so a green gold is one that I love having in my palette, and it looks pretty similar to the Quinacridone Gold in the camera, but in actual fact it shows up as a much more sort of bright version of an olive green. It looks pretty similar, but the two are actually quite different. One is definitely more golden green and the other one more golden yellow. And of course, I couldn't not get something for a pop for flowers, and my choice was opera pink. Now, the opera pink I wasn't so sure of. As I drew on with it, it seemed to be a little bit grainy. And I often find, you can even see as I'm going over it with the watercolor, that it seems a little bit grainy. And I was a bit perplexed because it felt a little bit different. You can see it's going over beautifully over the wet surface, but it definitely felt different to the other colors that I got. You can see there it gives almost a bit of a bitty texture. And a part of me seems to think that it's something to do with the fact that it is quite a luminous color. You often find that fluorescent colors, which an opera pink is quite a fluorescent pink, often they feel a little bit different, and that might be something to do with the pigment that is used. But no doubt the opera pink was definitely the beautiful, bright, rich pop of color that I was looking for. Really happy with my selection of colors. I think they're going to be great for some of my abstract florals, and those greens will definitely be awesome for traveling with. So now that's all that's left to do is to give them a try in my sketchbook. Now I had some beautiful pink flowers that I had photographed during the week, and so I thought I would pull out a sketchbook. This is just trying to think which sketchbook it is. I think that it was a Royal Talons sketchbook, it might have been. Or no, it was a Moleskine sketchbook. A Moleskine sketchbook. Always try and keep the sketchbook details at the back so that I remember what they are. I couldn't actually see, I can't see how thick the paper was, but the paper feels like it is probably around 250 GMS. I don't know what that is in pounds, but it definitely is thick enough to hold water soluble materials because I've used it so often before in other pieces. I know that it will withhold, you know, the water, adding water to the surface. So I thought I would pull it out and ensure that the paper I'm using is thick enough to hold them so that I could give them a fair chance. Now that all that was left to do was to give them a try. I also used a few other watercolors as a base to get me started. absolutely loved working with them. I think they are gorgeous for building up textures. But of course, as I anticipated, that pink gave me a little bit of trouble. As I said initially, that I found it a little bit sort of grainy to work with. As I was drawing in with it, you can see there the texture that it was creating. It was a texture that was not necessarily problematic, but it did feel different to the other colors that I had purchased, although I absolutely loved the color that it made. And so I decided to give it a little bit of a second chance and see if maybe I wasn't using it correctly. So I picked up a brush, rubbed it with a little bit of water. The brush was obviously wet, and decided to have a look at how it fared, and it actually fared a lot better when it was rubbed down with the brush. So I absolutely love the color. I'm just not sure about using it as a crayon form. I think that when I rubbed the brush onto it, and wet it and then used it, it was more pleasing for me to use. So I definitely think I will use it. I may just use it though to create a few little highlights. I mean, I'm not going to create fluorescent flowers, but I would use it for highlights, and I may just rub my brush onto it. Again, I gave it another try. You can see there as I draw on with it, it seems a bit grainy. I don't know if it was just my particular one that I had purchased, but I kind of think that maybe it's got something to do with the pigment, although the pigment is absolutely beautiful. And if you are looking for a crazy pop of color to give your image a little bit of pow wow, then I think this may be the color for you. I know I will be using it to create a little bit of a pop of color, a little bit of drama in my images. I just don't think I'll be using it in stick form like I use the others. I may rather take a brush and apply it with a brush onto the surface to create some little pops of color. I have absolutely no regrets about buying the pink, but the other colors are definitely my favorites. They are creamy when they go on, and I think they are wonderful for building up a little bit of a variety in the texture that you can create when working with watercolors. So I think that they are a fabulous new addition to my supplies. Thanks for joining me today. I hope you have enjoyed learning a little bit about the Daniel Smith watercolor sticks if you've never seen them before. As I said previously, if you have used them or you have some particular colors that you love using, please let me know in the comments, because I'd love to know more about them. And of course, back to my initial question, will I be buying them again? Well, you know, some ladies have an addiction to buying shoes. I think my problem is definitely art supplies and art books. So will I be buying them again? Absolutely. I love the textures that they build up. I love the intensity of the colors, and I think they are fabulous for building up textures and layers in your work. So I will definitely be looking to add a few more colors to my collection. If you've got a favorite color that you love to use, please let me know. Anyway, thanks for joining me today. And thanks for celebrating 500 subscribers with me. So awesome. If you're new here, thank you for sticking around this far, and I hope that you'll join me again sometime. Bye.